Under the blinding stage lights, the atmosphere fell into an almost sacred silence as a young Filipino teen slowly walked onto the vast America's Got Talent stage. His shirt was simple, slightly faded from years of wear, and his shoes had seen better days, but none of that mattered. What stood out were his eyes, wide, nervous, yet shimmering with a kind of courage that can only be born from love and sacrifice. The judges looked at him curiously, and Simon Cowell, known for his sharp tone, leaned forward. "What's your name?" he asked. The boy's voice shook as he replied, "My name is Miguel. My father is a carpenter. My mother washes clothes, and they gave up everything so that I could stand here today." His words struck the audience like an arrow. Gasps and soft murmurs filled the air. Miguel clutched the microphone tighter, his knuckles pale, and whispered, "This song is for them." The music began, soft piano chords filling the room, and Miguel's voice broke through. Fragile at first, then blooming into strength. It wasn't the trained perfection of a professional singer, but something more raw, more human. Each word carried weight. The story of nights without enough food, of calloused hands working late, of dreams born in the quiet corners of sacrifice. He sang not only with his voice but with his soul. The lyrics painted his parents' struggle with painful honesty, yet wrapped in gratitude and love. By the second verse, people in the audience were wiping their eyes. Even Simon, usually unreadable, pressed a hand against his chest, his face softening. In that moment, it wasn't just a performance. It was a prayer, a love letter, and a testimony to the power of family sacrifice. The last note lingered in the air like a prayer, trembling and dissolving into silence. For a heartbeat. No one moved, no applause, no reaction, just the echo of Miguel's voice hanging in the vast auditorium. His chest rose and fell quickly, his hands shaking as he clutched the microphone. He lowered his gaze, almost ashamed, as though afraid he had not done enough. Then suddenly the audience erupted, an explosion of applause, cheers, and even standing ovations. Faces in the crowd glistened with tears, and the camera zoomed in on Simon Cowell, who was visibly fighting his emotions. His eyes glistened and he blinked rapidly, shaking his head in disbelief. One of the judges leaned forward, her voice trembling. "Miguel, that wasn't just a song. That was your life, wasn't it?" Miguel swallowed hard, nodding slowly, his lips parting to whisper, "Yes, ma'am. Every word. It was my parents' story." His voice cracked and he quickly covered his face, embarrassed by the tears streaming down his cheeks. The crowd responded with a wave of warmth, clapping louder, encouraging him not to hide his emotions. From the judges' panel, Simon finally leaned into his microphone, his voice lower than usual, almost tender. "Miguel, I've heard thousands of singers. But what you did tonight, it wasn't about perfect notes or technique. It was about truth. You reminded us why music exists in the first place." His words stunned the boy. Miguel's eyes widened, his chest tightening as if he had just been told his dreams were valid. The other judges nodded in agreement, visibly touched. And then, just as Miguel thought the moment had passed, the judge beside Simon slowly reached out her hand and pressed the golden buzzer. The auditorium erupted in golden confetti. Golden confetti rained down like a blessing from heaven, shimmering under the stage lights as Miguel dropped to his knees in disbelief. His hands covered his face, tears streaming freely now, no longer hidden. The crowd roared with joy, standing as one, clapping and cheering his name. Camera flashes lit the moment like lightning, capturing the instant when a poor boy's dream collided with reality. Miguel's mother in the audience clutched her chest, unable to hold back her sobs, while his father, a quiet man with rough hands, stood frozen, his lips trembling in awe. They had never imagined seeing their son, the boy who once sang on dusty village streets, now showered in gold before the world. The host rushed onto the stage, pulling Miguel into a hug as the confetti swirled around them. Miguel's shoulders shook uncontrollably. "Thank you. Thank you so much," he cried, though his words were nearly drowned by the tears. One of the judges leaned forward, wiping her own eyes, whispering, "This is why we do this show." Simon, still seated, watched quietly. His usual sharpness had melted into something tender, almost paternal. He leaned into the microphone again and said softly, "Miguel, don't ever forget this moment. Not because of the golden buzzer, but because tonight you prove that truth and love are stronger than anything money can buy." Backstage, Miguel's parents were escorted toward him. As they embraced on stage, the cameras caught the rawest moment of all, a son buried in the arms of his parents, whispering, "This is for you. I did it for you." His father kissed the top of his head, and his mother, still crying, said, "No, Aho, we did it together." The golden rain continued to fall. Backstage, away from the deafening applause, Miguel sat on a small wooden bench, his golden confetti still clinging to his hair and clothes. His heart was racing, his throat sore from both singing and crying. For a brief moment he felt overwhelmed, not by the lights or the fame, but by a fear he hadn't spoken aloud. What if this was all just luck? What if I'm not enough for the next round? He bowed his head, hiding his face in his trembling hands. His mother sat beside him, gently rubbing his back. "Miguel Micho," she whispered, "do you remember when you sang in the marketplace with no microphone, only your voice? People stopped to listen. Not because you were perfect, but because you were real. That hasn't changed." Her words cut through his doubt like sunlight breaking through clouds. His father, usually a man of few words, knelt down in front of him, calloused hands resting on his son's knees. "We didn't send you here to be perfect," he said quietly. "We sent you here to be yourself. That is enough." Tears filled Miguel's eyes again, but this time they weren't from fear. They were from gratitude. He nodded, taking a shaky breath, and whispered, "I'll do it for you, for us." At that moment a crew member entered, announcing, "The press wants a quick word with you, Miguel." Nervous but steadied by his parents' presence, he stood tall. When asked by a reporter what message his song carried, Miguel answered simply, "It's about sacrifice. My parents gave me everything they never had. Tonight, I just wanted the world to know their love." Those words spread quickly across headlines, igniting something bigger than a performance. Miguel's story was becoming a symbol of hope. Weeks later, the night of the finals arrived. The stage was larger, brighter, and the audience even more expectant. Miguel stood once again beneath the lights, this time with millions watching live from around the world. He held the microphone close to his lips. But before the music began, he took a deep breath and spoke. "This isn't just for me. This is for every parent who sacrificed their dreams so their children could have won." The audience grew still, listening intently as his words pierced the silence. The music swelled and Miguel began his final song, a heartfelt ballad about gratitude, second chances, and the beauty of ordinary love. His voice had grown stronger, but it was still full of that same raw honesty that first touched Simon's heart. Each lyric carried the story of sleepless nights, of meals skipped so a child could eat, of unseen sacrifices that built invisible bridges toward the future. The cameras panned across the crowd, strangers holding hands, couples in tears, and Simon wiping his eyes again, unashamed this time. As the last note rang out, the entire theater rose to its feet, giving Miguel a thunderous standing ovation. His parents were brought on stage once more, this time not as silent witnesses, but as honored guests. Miguel took their hands, lifted them high, and declared, "These are my heroes." The crowd erupted, and then came the twist, the announcement of the winner. Miguel didn't win first place, but something far greater happened. Producers revealed that a foundation had been so moved by his story, they were awarding his parents a scholarship fund for Miguel's future and support for their family. The boy who sang for love walked off the stage, not with a trophy but with something far greater, a legacy of hope.